Hello everyone and welcome. Oh wait, that's Jason's intro.
Hey guys, Chris Fix-ish here. That doesn't sound right.
That is okay, we will just keep moving forward. Just trying out some new stuff here at B is for Build. In this episode, we're kicking off the first of a two-part series of building a drifty style DIY core support for the Aston Martin. Stay tuned.
When I originally started shopping for an exotic car to turn into a drift car, I saw the front end damage that this car had, and I thought it was a great opportunity to save money. We have this really nice flush mounting surface right here that isn't bent, it's not busted up or anything like that, that we can use as a starting point. From there, on the stock car, you normally have this fiberglass core support that comes out, radiator mounts, you have the hood mounts and everything else like that. If we build that stuff on our own, we're gonna save thousands and thousands of dollars. Also, it can look pretty cool and be very, very functional. Take out all the BS that we don't need and only use the stuff that we want to keep. So we're going to go ahead and start building a custom core support that's going to be responsible for holding the radiator, holding the oil cooler. It's going to go down as far as holding the skid plate diffuser on the bottom, mounting the headlights. Actually, to my surprise, there's no hood latch here at all because that's normally part of the core support that's like right about here. So it's actually going to hold our hood on as well. So it's going to do a lot of different things, and it's all going to be kind of in the style of a drift car, very purpose built, very modular, and hopefully replaceable if it ever gets dinged up or anything like that. So to do this, I want to go ahead and build it in 3D space. I did the 3D rendering of this car. I got a little bit better with the 3D program, so I want to design this in 3D space. And to do that, we need to take all the proper measurements up front, so then we can go ahead and drop those measurements into the 3D program and go ahead and design all around that in 3D. That way, we'll know exactly what's going to fit, what's not going to fit, what clearances are going to be tight. We can do all that stuff and mess up all that stuff in 3D before we come into real life and do it all in real life. So I'm going to sit down and I'm going to sketch and I'm going to take measurements of exactly, I'm going to try and take measurements of every single thing that we need to mount up and where things need to go. That way we can jump into the software and handle it all in there.
All right, we're back in the studio. I took the measurements here and went ahead and built this whole thing out in 3D space, measurements correct to the car, and designed the whole front core support in 3D Studio Max. So I'm gonna go ahead and play that back now and fast forward, and we'll talk through it, and I'll kind of commentate on what we're gonna build here. So I started off by building the, this is the front main section of the car. You'll remember this. This is like the wide, thick thing, and then on top of it, we got that long straight bar that goes across where the headlights mount up to it in the back. So after that, I went ahead and built the radiator. Got to color the radiator blue. So this is really cool because we can build the radiator exactly to size for the radiator that we have, which is perfect. So that's the right size for the radiator. Next, we measured that. Next, I built the power steering cooler and the oil cooler. So that's those two things that we're seeing there. They're that darker blue color. So now we have the things that we got to fit inside the engine space, and we have the size of our mounting platform. And from there, we can start building. The radiator naturally wants to sit away from the that main support about 6 inches back, so that's where I originally spaced it out, but you're going to see that we actually brought it back a little bit further so we could be in line with where the headlights and the hood supports need to mount. So now what you see now here is we built a little platform to come out from that thing. So that's what we're going to bolt onto the main piece of the car. We have some plate steel with the tube frame coming out of there, so that comes out. And then coming up from there, about 11 or 12 inches away from the main frame is where we're going to start building the radiator supporting mount. And then on top of that top piece, that strip of metal across the top of the radiator is going to do double duty. It's going to also hold the front of the headlights, and it's also going to be where we're going to mount our hood pins from. So that's going to be, it's a very, very important vital piece in this project. So it comes right off of the main tubes that come straight out of the chassis. So then to support the bottom of the radiator, we did the same design, basically just flipped it around, but it doesn't have as much overhang because that overhang is to take care of the headlights. So that's kind of the main core support structure for holding the radiator, and then things are going to be built off of this from here. If you're wondering what that green plate is, the green piece at the bottom, that big rectangular green piece, that's to represent where the bottom of the car is. So that's the base of the car. So here we have a post coming off of the like kind of the main chassis post. That is a mounting point for the skid plate, the lower diffuser. It represents the bottom of the car. That will come down. That'll be the furthest back point where the lower diffuser will mount to the car. And then it'll mount again closer up. So now we're going ahead and building the what people normally call a bash bar. The bash bar is right there on the front. It comes out another like 6 inches, I think, from our other bar, and it's detachable. It bolts into the main chassis bar. And I'm building everything on one side here, and then I'll go ahead and flip it around and I'll mirror it. So the next thing we got to do is build mounts for the oil cooler. So the oil cooler and the power steering cooler both mount off of the same kind of piece of metal that comes off the bottom of the radiator mounting setup. So that kind of pops off the bottom. We're going to put more supports in the back piece because it's not meant to bend. When the front piece is meant to bend, the back piece is not meant to bend. So we're going to put a little bit more supports in there. So now we're going to go ahead and mirror that around and make some adjustments, and it'll start to become like a little bit more clear here. Build the middle piece for our bash bar. And I changed the bottom tray to be black or a little bit gray, so it hopefully represented a little bit better. So there we have it. That's what it's going to look like. It's pretty simplistic. There's not a lot of complex bends. It's not going to be really showy offy, but I think it's going to look good. Yeah, I think this is the design that I want to go for. It's modular. We can detach the bash bar. If we break the bash bar, that can come off. The bash bar is the furthest thing in front, so if it'll get damaged first. It'll block impact from the radiator. There's a lot of nice space there. We need some space to be able to put those big the air filters for the air intakes in there. So I think that's the way we're going to go ahead and do it. Next steps, I'm going to go ahead and take this. I'm going to move it over to my laptop, and tomorrow morning we're going to wake up. We're going to head down to the metal supply store, and we're going to buy all the metal that we need for this. And the really cool thing is I can literally go through piece by piece and measure the exact amount of metal. But me being me, I'm going to go ahead and take it piece by piece, measure the right amount of metal, and then I'm going to buy double that just in case. So I'll see you guys tomorrow morning at the metal supply store.
Just made it to Metal Supermarkets, which is where I get all my metal. If you're in the Pacific Northwest, this is a really good supplier of metal stock for projects like this that we need. The list has gotten pretty large. We need like 260 inches of the 3/4 inch tube and 130 inches of the 1.5 inch. So this is probably gonna cost a lot of money. I'll let you know how much it costs. Earlier today, I did want to mention that the G35 sold on Copart for $1,650. So congratulations to the winner of that. I'm happy that you got it. I feel like that's a fair price. I'm happy with that. And the BRZ auction, a lot of you guys commented, it went up to $30,000 because of some people trolling. The winning bidder was Brian O'Connor with 0 bidding history. So I'm pretty much done selling cars on eBay because people troll the auction and it's not fair. Luckily, I have a backup buyer who is a friend who bought the car from me for $15,000. So the BRZ basically sold to a friend for $15K, G35 for $1,650, which is pretty awesome. So it's a good day. I should be able to afford this metal, no problem. I'm gonna head in and get everything cut. The cool thing here is they will cut things to size. So that's gonna make things a little bit faster for me when we get back to the shop. So we'll get the metal, get it loaded up, and get back to the shop. Back in the shop, and we've got all our metal. Feels good. I'm ready to start building. This was extremely cheap, $130 for all these supplies, which was amazing because I bought a lot of extra. We're not going to actually be adding all of this onto the car. I took the digital blueprints we made, I calculated all the length that we needed, and then I added 30% just for wiggle room, a lot of wiggle room, and it still only came out to $130, which is amazing. So if I pull this off, it'll be the cheapest core support / bash bar Aston Martin will ever have known. What we have is 1.5 inch diameter tubing with a 0.12 inch wall thickness, 125 actually, and then we have 0.125 plate, and then we have 3/4 inch tubing over there. So it's all good. That's our materials that we're going to be working with. Next thing I get to figure out is how to drain the cooling system. It's time to start tidying everything up and make a little bit of a clean working space so we have a good start here. We'll get everything tucked out of the way and ready to be welded around and everything like that, and then probably start on the little pads that bolt onto the frame. Just finished these base plates. They're bolted in there with some mismatched hardware because this is just what I could find around the shop. I actually went ahead and made a template out of like a construction paper type stuff, glued it onto the front of the plates and then drilled through there, and that worked out really, really well. Because there's so many holes to make, I didn't really want to measure out each one and do all from one measuring point. So that's looking good. Now I ran into one problem. In my design, my radiator mounts out pretty far. Standard, the OEM radiator mounts about 6 inches out. And you can see that right here is the mounting point where we need to have a support for the headlight down there. We need to have a crossbar come across here to support the fender, as well as that's where we're gonna do our hood support as well. So I wanted to move the radiator out to here so everything could be a solid up and down, like straight across thing, but that's not actually gonna work because the AC compressor lines are a little bit closer in. So I'm gonna have to revisit the design real quick tonight. I'm gonna take a break right here, revisit the design tonight, modify it a little bit, change where the radiator is mounted, and I wanna incorporate these guys. These are off of the Mustang. They are radiator mounting brackets because the way that we have it designed now, actually, the radiator can't bolt in and unbolt. It's kind of like a permanent mounting thing, which obviously won't work. So I'm thinking I'm gonna use these guys to kind of mount the radiator back a little bit more. That way we can keep the AC compressor. And a lot of people say, why have AC on a drift car? I don't have AC on the Evora. I don't have AC on the BRZ. I don't have AC on a lot of my other cars. So I just wanted to keep AC on here. It's not gonna be an issue. So I'm gonna keep AC and I'll incorporate these into the design, find a way to move the radiator back a little bit while keeping our cross member through here. Tonight I'll figure that out. We'll come back tomorrow and start welding it up. Back in the shop, and I've modified the plans to be able to fit this radiator closer in. So what we've done here is the top bar position has stayed the same. That's not gonna change. The lower one, if I kind of drag this around, right there you can kind of see the lower one we've slid a lot further forward, and it's going to hold the radiator from the bottom. So the radiator is going to be held in from the bottom, from that bottom support right there. It's going to be held in from the top. You can see there's nothing holding in the top right now by those two things that I showed you last time that are going to extend off of this top bar, leaving the top bar to do its job of holding the headlights and the hood pins and the other things like that, and the bottom bar is going to be dedicated to supporting the radiator from the bottom, and then the top sections that we will build out to connect to the radiator, we'll just hold it in place because all the weight is obviously going to be coming from the bottom. So we're good to go. There's some concerns about oil cooler hoses and stuff like that I have that we're going to have to go ahead and work through. But the first thing that we know we need to build are these posts coming off of our plate right here. So that's what I'm going to get started on right now. Ran into another roadblock. I'm learning that you can do all the engineering and designing and 3D modeling that you want, but unless you've measured your boundaries well enough, and you have those designed as well, which we didn't because I hadn't done this jobber, you know, a lot of that design may have to change. So we're being pretty fluid with this thing right here. Here's what we've learned. These posts are a little bit too long. That doesn't leave us room to build a front impact bar and have it be able to do anything, as well as they're coming out a little bit too high, at least too high to have our bash bar come directly off of them. So we're gonna have to unweld one of these. That's a new BS for Build term. I'm liking it. We're gonna have to unweld one of these and then drop it down a little bit and see if we can sneak it in. It looks like it's gonna be really close. I want the bash bar to run inside this piece of the front bumper. That would be ideal. If not, we could run it maybe a little bit higher if it has to come in right around here. But we'll see. So I'm gonna go ahead and pop one of those off, modify it, and see if we can bring this whole thing down a little bit. I went ahead and unwelded this one and found out through test fitting that if we slide it all the way down to the bottom of the base plate there, which is still backed by the solid core of the car, so it's all good to go down as far as it can, and then if we shorten this up by about 5 inches to make room for the front impact bar, we're gonna be good to go. Now that is gonna change some of the measurements for the front piece that's gotta go right here, because that was essentially supposed to come off from right here, and this won't be there anymore, but we will work with that when we get there. But it shouldn't change much for the radiator mount, and that's what I'm trying to accomplish tonight. So I'm gonna go ahead, unweld that one, re-tack them both up in the lower position, and continue on working. almost just took off there and forgot to update you guys. So here's what we're doing. I got the radiator mocked up in position. We got our newer lower posts coming out. Everything's looking great there. So now what we got to do is, this is very hard because obviously only got one person, one set of hands. So it's a little tough, but I've got this side of the radiator looking like I want it. That side's a little bit low. So what I'm going to do is build everything over here and then use the same lengths and measurements and placement and mirror it over there, and we should get the same result. So what we're doing is we're starting over here and we're going to do some drop downs from the post down to here with round tube 3/4 inch. And then we're going to come across here and we're going to try and catch the whole radiator right here on this angle, since it is a kind of a forward facing setup. We're going to catch it right about here with in the end it'll be 2 pieces of bar, 1 piece in the front, 1 piece in the back, with gusseted sheet metal in the middle. And so anyways, drop down, come across, and then come back up to meet up with that other post over there. Just finished up what I expect to be the actual hardest part of this entire project, which is the bottom base bar for the radiator. So the radiator is actually going to sit a little bit behind this bar, towards closer to the frame here. And what we're going to do is space this out. It's going to be 1.5 inches of gusseted plate metal down across here that then bolts up to another bar that's going to come off of here, connect down all across the gussets and back up, and that is what is going to hold our radiator. But getting that all square, level, identical on both sides and everything was, I think, the hardest part of this project. So I'm really happy that we got that together. You may have seen me try and bend a piece of metal using the pipe bender or the tubing bender and do that, but what it was doing is it was creasing the metal, it was folding the tube, and bending metal is a stronger way to do it than cutting it and welding it back together, from what I've been told. But if you are creasing the metal and you're just basically kinking the metal, it is not a stronger way to do it. So I went with the cut and weld method. Now everything's just tack welded in here. We're not done welding. But so everything's straight. And tomorrow we will continue on with spacing this out, building the next one across here, and then from there it's just holding the radiator vertically this way, the way we need it, and then the cross core support that's got to go across here to bolt into the fender and the hood pins and stuff like that. But that'll all be much easier now that we have that base for that radiator all sorted out. All right, guys, that is where I'm going to end this episode. Thank you so much for watching. Remember, this is part 1 of a 2-part little mini-series on building this core support. In the next episode, I feel like we actually got the hard part done in this episode. And in the next episode, it's going to be the fun part of continuing to build out from our base to build everything up. So front fenders being able to bolt up, headlights, front bumper, front impact bar, oil cooler, power steering cooler, all those things are going to just, you know, have a home, have a place to bolt in. So thank you guys for watching, and please just tune in for the next one as well. Or if you're watching, you know, in the past, just click next. You can click it right now. Anyways, thanks for watching. If you like Beast for Build, you want to help out and support, head over to beastforbuild.com, scroll down to the shop, picking up any of the merchandise there. All the proceeds go directly towards supporting these builds. So thank you guys so much that have already done that. And if you want to find us in more places, we are Beast for Build on Instagram, Facebook, Twitch, Snapchat, all that good stuff. Follow us on there for a little behind the scenes action. Thanks guys, I'll see you soon. Please remember to like and subscribe. Peace!
Come on!